Hey, what is up guys? This is Platinum Point and I'm here to bring you guys yet again another Weiss Schwarz video. Today we're going to be doing a deck profile on my 8 Pants Spy Family deck. We're going to be going over my deck list as well as rationale behind my card choices as well as a game plan. So stay tuned for more info. So before we go into the breakdown of my deck list, I just wanted to cover the main climax combos of this deck, so I don't have to kind of just spend so much time like explaining as I go through the list. So the main goal of this deck is surrounded by these 4 cards: the Nightfall Fiona Frost and the Hospital Staff Fiona Frost, which pairs with, actually climaxes got mixed up, with this climax combo and the Agent Twilight and the Perfect Father Lloyd. So we'll talk about the level 1 climax combo first. So what this Fiona does is, when this climax is placed on the stage, when this card attacks, you can check the top 3 cards of your deck and choose one Berlin character from among them and put it to your hand, and then put the rest back to the top of your deck in any order. So this allows you to sculpt your triggers as well as getting key pieces that you need in hand. And at the encore step, when this card is rested during your turn, if you have a Fiona Frost that is the Night Staff Fiona Frost that is underneath this card as a marker, or in the waiting room, you can play on top of it. You can play this card on top of the agent, the Nightfall Fiona Frost. So what this Fiona Frost does is, and you mainly want to play this during your opponent's turn. So continuous effect: if you have 2 or more other characters during your opponent's turn, it gains plus 6k. During your turn, if this is on stage and you have 2 or more other characters, it just gets plus 4k. So the main thing you want to worry about for that first effect is during your opponent's turn, the plus 6k. At the end of this card's battle, you may check up to the top 3 cards of your deck and rearrange them in any order. So during your opponent's turn, after they front attack this card, you get to check the top 3 cards after that initial damage, and basically sculpt your next damage and determine whether, if there's climaxes among them, you want to move them towards the top of your deck, so that way you cancel out more damage and stay at level 1 as long as possible. That's usually the ideal goal. And then during your opponent's encore phase, well, if this is on top of a Nightfall Fiona Frost, you switch them during your turn. So it plays into the gimmick of the characters in Spy Family having 2 different personas, and this mechanic actually came from the Persona 5 series, believe it or not. So Spy Family actually kind of perfects this a little bit more, like builds more upon that mechanic by just having them switch during either player's turn, which is really nice. So that's it for the level 1 combo. I want to talk about the level 3. So the level 3 combo basically is surrounded by these 2 cards and the Pants trigger. So we'll talk about we'll talk about Agent Twilight first. So what Agent Twilight does is, while this climax is in play and you have 6 or less cards in hand, you may pay 2 on attack, burn 3. If so happens that burn 3 cancels, you may burn an additional 1. So on attack, this card already is at minimum 2 instances of burn damage. 2 instances of damage built in on attack. So the goal of this deck at the end game is to play 2 or more copies of this Agent Twilight to basically secure the game, because you'll have key pieces at level 2 that will help you stick the damage, particularly either the 2/1 Exciting Feelings Anya, which is a Fumio for 1 climax where you pay one, discard one, your opponent chooses one climax that stays out in the waiting room and the rest of the waiting room gets shuffled back in. Or the Bond, which pairs with the 0/0 Anya Brainstorm, and its effect is tap itself, look at the top card of your opponent's deck, and choose to either leave it at the top or mill it. So basically, with either the Anya, but mainly the Bond and the Lloyd, you are trying to put as much damage on board on that attack to basically close the game. And if you don't, this Lloyd kicks in. So during your encore phase, if this specific Lloyd, the Perfect Father Lloyd, is in the waiting room or is underneath the Agent Twilight, you may play over the Agent Twilight, and when it comes into play, heal. And then during your opponent's encore phase, if this card is still rested, you switch back into the Agent Twilight. So the goal of with this mechanic is basically you want to be able to maintain presence on the board so you can loop your climax combos if needed. So that's it for the level 1s. We're going to go through the deck list now, starting off with the level 0s. I play 4 copies of the Assassin Yor. So what she does is when all your characters are Berlin characters, she gains the plus 1500. So she's a 3/5 beat stick, and she has the ability when this character reverses an opponent's character by battle, you may salvage a Berlin character from your waiting room and add it to your hand, then discard a card. So this allows you to hand filter, and your main target is either the Nightfall, the Anya, or even your Twilight if you're able to get a reverse late game. And one thing about Spy Family is it does an excellent job of hand filtering and getting resources to your hand really easy. So we play 4 copies of that. Next, I play 4 copies of the Full Metal Lady Sylvia. So she has two effects. One is on play and then the other is on attack. So when she comes into play, you may discard the Pants Climax, and you run 8 in this deck. To check up to the top 5 cards of your deck, choose a Berlin character from among them and add it to your hand, send the rest to the waiting room. So that's your easy early game like deck mill and deck search. And what she does also is on attack, you may either put the top card of your top card of your stock into waiting room, or your top card of your deck into clock to twin drive. So she's a card that you want to play early, especially when you go first, so you can get both the mill 5 and the twin drive. So you get a free 1-for-1 with a character that you might need, that you desperately need for the next turn, or 2 free stock. So continuing on with the utility part of level 0, we play 4 copies of the extremely skilled assassin Yor. So what she does is when she comes into play, you may check the top card of your deck, and if it's a Berlin character or the event Work Call, it gains plus 1500, plus 2k, so it becomes a 3/5 beat stick on your turn. But that allows you to beat over lanes, but the second effect is also just as important, if not more important, which is you pay 1, put the top card of your deck into clock, and then search your deck for a level 1 or lower card. So mainly, you are using this to search for either your missing early game pieces or your level 1 Nightfall, so just so you can get the climax combo going. Another level 0 that you're going to be level 1 or lower card you're going to be searching for is the Telepath Girl Anya. So in most builds I've seen they play 4, but my rationale for playing 3 is you play so many resource gathering cards that help you get this to your hand very quickly, and not just one but multiple in your hand very quickly, that you almost don't want to have to play. You don't need to play 4, So I decided to play 3 just so I can still see 1 in hand and still be able to get the other copy out, because early game you want to have 2 in the back row just so that your Fiona Frosts, when they change, they become 8k lanes. Because what this Anya does is, if a character is placed onto stage by change, give that character plus 1k. And it's a salvage brainstorm too. The reason why I play 3 is you have so many ways of getting to this Anya, and I wanted more room for tech slots. So we play 3 copies of that Anya. Next, we play 2 copies of the Climax Swap Twilight. So we do have an Anya version of this deck, but I wanted to keep this deck concise in terms of color spread, since this is mainly blue-green with a splash of yellow and red, just so you can have those consistency tools. So I wanted to make it where I keep a consistent, just the colors consistent, and it does the same thing as the intended use for the level 0 Anya, which is a Climax Swap. And we play 2 of it since you want to be able to Climax Swap. I may cut this down to 1 since my rationale again is since you have so many ways of digging out your key pieces, you don't necessarily need too many, and you can get away with playing one-ofs. So maybe in the future, as I'm testing and trying to build like this deck to be a little bit more versatile towards multiple matchups, I may consider cutting this down to 1. And then lastly, for my level 0, I play 1 copy of Anya in a coat. So this one has the ability on play mill 2, and then the second on play ability pay 1, discard 1, salvage a character, give another character plus 1k. So I chose this over the Twilight version, which is just a discard 1, send that character to waiting room to salvage, is because I want that plus 1000 to help me clear lanes. That plus 1000 is very good, and being able to clean out an additional climax that I might have accidentally buried is also just really helpful. And the mill 2 is just extra deck milling, which is just really helpful when trying to get your deck out of a bad state. And then now for the level 1s, we play 4 copies of the Nightfall Fiona Frost and 4 copies of the Hospital Staff Fiona. So we already explained these 2 effects, so we don't have to go into it. I play 2 copies of the Cool Agent Twilight. So this is from the trial deck. So when it comes into play, his first effect is an on-play effect. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a brilliant character, choose another character, give it that character plus 2k. You can even choose itself too, but mainly you're gonna just choose either one of your either the Fiona or any other lane that you want to run over in order to get a reverse to break the lane. And it's also a cost 0 bond, and this is really good against both the mirror match and the chainsaw matchup, since chainsaw runs the level 1 Kishibe, which gets like I think ridiculous amounts of power based on the number of copies of Kishibe on the board. So you can essentially just field 2 Lloyds and maybe field 1 Fiona, kill the 2, like clock kick the 2 Kishibes and guarantee the kill on the Fiona. So you essentially break their board, as well as this is also good against Slime if you go up against a variant that plays the level 1 Shizu, as you get to just clock kick that Shizu. It's just really good at just answering really nasty board states that your opponent either wants to keep cards on the board or wants them to get reversed. So this allows you to essentially just cheese wipe them in a sense through clock kicking. And then lastly, 1 copy of the Entrance Examination Yor, which is your 1/1/2k backup, which gives plus 2k, and when you play it as a backup, blind stocks. So, and when you combine it with the Fiona Frost, it's not technically a blind stock, because depending on which lane you do it, like if you do it on the first Fiona, in which you've done the climax combo last, like the last attack, and they attack that Fiona and you want to save it, you already know what cards are going to be at the top of your deck. Like if you put a card, like a blank character below a climax, you essentially can blind stock that blank character and just cancel on 1. So this with the free information that you get with this deck, this is not necessarily a blind stock, which is really nice. And then now for the level 2s, we play 1 copy of the Memory Kick Backup, 3K memory on reverse Memory Kick Backup, and 1 copy of the anti-early play Anya. The reason why I'm playing this Anya is because Overlord is still a powerful set, and this is here to threaten the 3/2 Eins. If you don't remember how Overlord plays, I suggest you check out my deck profile on Bard Door Overlord, because that is the meta build of Overlord, and this Anya helps threaten that very easily, as Eins does not gain the hexproof until the following turn. So being able to just answer the potentially threaten the Eins with an anti-early play is just really nice, and it's there to punish really bad your opponent who makes your opponents when they make bad reads, and it scares them when they make good reads. So I like this card. I think all Spy families should still run it, even if it's like just free knowledge to the Overlord player, because hey, it threatens that interaction, and it forces your opponent to play very suboptimally, which is nice. And then lastly, for the level 2s, we play 1 copy of the Excited Feelings Anya, which is a pay 1, discard 1 Fumio for 1 climax. If you don't know what Fumio is, it's basically your opponent chooses 1 or 2 climaxes, keeps those out, and refreshes the rest of the cards from their waiting room back into their deck. So this is a free deck decompressor that you could potentially play if you want to close out the game, depending on how many climaxes are in your opponent's waiting room. If there's 1 and there's a ton of blanks in that waiting room, you just shuffle them all back in and increase the likelihood of just killing your opponent. And then lastly, we play 1 copy of the Bond Forger. It pairs with the level 0 Anya in the fact that if you have the Anya in the back line with this, you give a plus 1500 globally, and then you get to tap this, check the top card of your deck, essentially just predict the future of your opponent's damage and intervene in it. Because you can either mill that top card if it's a climax, or just keep it there just to push for more damage. And then now to the level 3s, we play 2 copies of the Family Full of Secrets, Lloyd, Anya, and Yor. So it's a 2 or less climaxes in waiting room early play. When it comes into play, you may heal the top card of your clock into the waiting room, and then you can choose one of the 2 effects after that, which is either a blind stock 1 or pay an additional 1 and heal an additional card from your clock, and that card gains plus 3k. So you mainly play this for the double heal, since it essentially becomes a 2/3 heal for 2, which is really nice. It helps you stay at level 3 long. There are some points in the game where the blind stock effect is fine, but in most cases the heal 2 is so much better. And then for the last bits of the level 3s, we play 3 copies of the Perfect Father Lloyd, and then 4 copies of the Agent Twilight, not Ancient, Agent Twilight. So I hope you guys like this deck profile. I am going to be messing around with this deck a little bit more, and I'll be probably showcasing to you guys some of my matches at my locals with this deck, just to showcase to you how this deck functions in IRL gameplay. So I hope you guys like this video. We're going to be exploring Saikano, since Finale just came out a week ago, so we're gonna see. I'll showcase that once I get all my singles coming in. There's other decks that I'm going to be looking at, as well as other card games that I might actually be doing videos on in the near future. So I hope you guys subscribe to this video, like it, share it with your friends, and I hope you guys stay on point, guys. Peace out, YouTube.